Hello everyone, my name is Shivam Jaiswal. The name of the show is Chai Wagon Pe Charcha, and today we have Jag Nagra with us for the conversation. Jag is the graphic designer behind Chai Wagon's design. Today we'll talk about homosexuality in Punjabi and Indian community in general, and also like her journey of coming out as a gay woman. So let's welcome Jag. Welcome, Jag. Hi.
Thank you.
How
Hi.
are you? Thanks for coming here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been so. First, like I want to know, like your how you're an artist by profession. That's what you'll call yourself?
Yes.
Like an artist.
Yeah.
So how did you come up? Because in basically like in Indian community, right? Like our parents want us to pursue regular careers,
Yeah.
like, like engineer, doctors, accountant, lawyers, like professionals. And this is mostly, I think most of the Indian parents, they would not say, like, okay, go and become an artist.
Yeah.
So first thing, like I want to talk to you about like your professional career, like how did you know, you knew it from what exactly you wanted to do? So yeah.
Yeah. So after high school, I just sort of blindly applied to college. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I went, I did 2 years at the Art Institute, or not at the Art Institute. I did 2 years at University College of the Fraser Valley.
And you did all your schooling in Vancouver, right?
Yeah, this was in Abbotsford actually, the college.
Okay.
And like I did 2 years and it just felt like an extension of high school. And I got my diploma and I was like, wait, how do I get a career now? I don't understand. And then I thought about it for a while, and I had seen my brother, he had taken graphic design courses as part of his schooling in university. And I would sit behind him as he was working on the computer, and that was the first time I saw someone making layouts or designing a poster.
In college?
Yeah, and he went to SFU, that's where he did it.
Okay.
And first time I realized, like, oh, a logo is designed by somebody. All the cereal boxes are designed by somebody, right?
Okay.
First time I'd ever even thought of that. And that was amazing to me. So after I did the 2 years at UCFV and realizing, I just did random courses. I took geography and this and that. So then I told my parents, I said, I'm going to put myself through art school now.
Okay.
And the conversation was just very kind of, they were like, okay, go ahead. And yeah, I just, after that, like, I just loved it so much. Yeah, and that's sort of how I got started.
Doing this like since then?
Yeah, I graduated in 2006.
Okay.
I worked 11 years in a travel marketing company.
Okay.
Corporate job. I didn't really like it. And then in 2012, I started to teach myself how to draw.
Okay.
Because I wanted to quit that job after a few years. And I thought, if I quit this, the only people who know I'm an artist are my family and friends, right? What can I do? So I started every day for a full year. I drew something and posted it online, and that's sort of what started the career.
And is there like a specialization in drawing, like in your own field? I mean, like you're an artist, but like for people like who don't know, how would you describe like what is your specialization?
Yeah, so I started out as a graphic designer at the Art Institute of Vancouver, and then now I call myself an illustrator. Okay. I focus now lots on like South Asian themes of art. Okay. I'm also the creative director of the Punjabi Market Regeneration Collective.
Yeah.
And through this work in Punjabi Market, it's the first time I've sort of felt confident in my identity as a South Asian person.
Okay.
Before working on this stuff, like I never drew brown skin. I never drew Indian themes. I just didn't connect with it.
Okay.
I grew up in Maple Ridge, which was, very white. I didn't have a lot of Indian friends. So, I feel like I'm exploring a new part of my identity for the first time.
So you draw with your hands, right? Like the drawings that you do?
Yeah, now I do. I used to, when I first started drawing, it was all on the computer with my mouse.
Okay.
Like I didn't know how to draw with a pen. Mm-hmm. And the last few years, like I just got a stack of computer paper, got a pen, and now everything is done on paper, and then it goes into the computer.
Okay, now we talked about your professional life. Now I want to talk about your personal life.
Yeah.
And I think that will be like very inspiring for like our listeners. I know you, like I personally know you. You are a gay person, like gay woman of Punjabi community, like Indian community, and coming out. Like I personally want to know your coming out story, like how you came out to your parents. How was your journey, like starting? I don't know. Like, see, like first of all, like I myself, like I'm not educated enough in this matter, but I want to learn.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of people would learn from our conversation, and this is the purpose of this conversation. So I'll be very open about it, right? What I want to know is, like when you were growing up, you knew, like you were attracted to women, and when you had that intuition, like when you had that experience, and whenever you had it, like as a young girl or growing up, how was that experience and what you did after that, and did you had those kind of experiences like regularly, and then eventually you talk to your parents, so when were you, because see, like ideally or normally, like how in Indian families, like growing up, girls, it's already like it's a set pattern, nobody even talks about it,
Yeah.
that girls can actually be sexually interested in girls,
Yeah.
or like boys can be sexually interested in boys. It's
Yeah.
just like they don't even talk about it, and then I think that is the biggest reason, because they don't talk about it, so they think that's normal. I mean, that's like girls attracted to boys,
Yeah.
and boys attracted to girls.
Yeah.
So I basically want to know when you knew about this, when you were completely sure, and how did you came out to
Yeah.
your parents? Yeah.
That's a great question. Looking back now, like even if I think back to when I was 4, looking back, it's obvious I was gay from the beginning, right?
Okay.
I would say people don't become gay. You don't decide one day to be gay. You're just born that way. Just like for you, if you're straight, do you wake up thinking every morning, okay, I'm going to be attracted to women today?
Okay.
It just comes naturally to you, right?
Yeah.
Same with me. So probably wasn't until late high school or even after high school that I started understanding what I was feeling, what that meant, because like you said, our parents don't talk about it. Nobody taught us what it meant to be gay. I don't even know if my parents knew about it until I came out, right? Nobody even taught them. So yeah, I think I struggled for a long time, worrying that, okay, if I tell my family that I'm gay, are they going to disown me? Are my friends going to stop being my friends? And I struggled with that for a lot of years. I went through depression. It was like a really, really hard time of my life.
But how did you, like as you said, your parents, they didn't knew about, like what gay is
Yeah.
until you told them.
Yeah.
But you personally, like how did you know, like there's something like this? Did you talk to someone, or did you research it online, or like did you just knew?
I think over time you just start realizing, like you start thinking, okay, my friends in high school are dating each other. How come I'm not attracted to boys like them?
Okay.
How come I've never dated a boy? And you like thinking back, okay, I was attracted to my dentist who was a woman when I was a kid, right? Like you have a crush, that sort of thing. And then, yeah, just I guess like, in the early years of the internet, going on message boards and stuff back then. Facebook didn't exist, but you find these communities and you're talking to people online who are also gay, and sort of you're starting to understand and starting to realize, okay, I'm like that too, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess I'll tell you my coming out story to my family. I have one older brother. He's 2 years older than me, and he's also gay.
Oh wow. Okay.
So there's 2 of us kids in the family. We're both gay.
Okay.
And at the time I was living at home. I think we both were actually. My brother was living at home as well.
And you already knew, like your brother? Is
No,
gay?
no, not at this time. Or yeah, you know what?
Because usually, like like brother sister, they know a lot of things about each other.
Yeah, I mean, my brother and I have never had a relationship where we talk openly about, our deep, dark secrets. It's never been like that, right?
Yeah, we don't talk about like that yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I found out through his MySpace account that he had a boyfriend. Like back then you're like stalking your brother, seeing what he's doing, and he posted a photo and said, "This is my boyfriend." And I just went into complete shock because I've been struggling with this. I'm too scared to tell my family, and now my brother's gay, right?
Were you like relieved in a way?
No,
Okay.
pure shock.
Okay.
And now again, like looking back on it, we should have known from day one he was gay, right? Like when he was a kid, you could just tell he's different than the other boys, just like I was different than the other
Can
girls.
you elaborate on that? Like how?
Like for example, for me, I hated wearing dresses from the beginning. I would cry, I would throw a fit. I wanted to dress like my brother. And oftentimes, like we have photos where we're both wearing the exact same clothes, right? The same outfits. I just felt more comfortable in boys' clothes.
Okay.
I remember, I think he was probably 5 or 6. He wanted press-on nails for Christmas. He wanted like to paint his nails. My parents got them for him, right? Maybe he did more girly things, you know? Just, yeah, I don't know what it is.
So you came to know through his MySpace.
Yeah, so I found that out, and yeah, it was just shocking to my core.
Okay.
And maybe a couple months later, I was at home, came home from school, and my dad sort of got mad at me about something silly, something small.
Okay.
And normally my dad is so gentle, he's such a sensitive man, he's so like loving. And it was out of character for him to get mad at me. So I got annoyed. I storm off into the computer room. I'm like, whatever. And my mom came into the room a couple minutes later, and she said, Dad's upset because I told him about Harv.
Your
My-
mom told him about your brother?
My mom told my dad that Harv was gay. So my dad was upset, and he took it out on me.
But your mom told you that your brother is gay, so you...
No, so so my dad was upset with me,
Okay.
right? And my mom came and told me, she said, your dad's upset today
Yeah.
because I told him about Harv, about my brother.
Okay.
So I just froze. I took her upstairs to my bedroom.
Okay.
I just started crying. Like I couldn't stop crying. It just felt like all this years and like my whole lifetime of holding my own secret was about to come out, right?
Okay.
I couldn't form words. I was crying so much, and I think she got kind of scared. Like, why is my daughter crying so much about this?
Okay.
And then she clued in, I think, and she said, "Do you have something to tell me?" And then I told her. I said, "Yes, I'm also gay." And I was sobbing so much, right? And she just hugged me so tight. I've never been hugged that much in my entire life. And she said to me, "If anybody in our family gives you a hard time, don't invite them to my funeral.
Oh, wow.
Like, I'm here for you." And from that moment, our relationship changed from that moment because, you know, if I can tell them I'm gay and talk to them about it, everything else is easy, right? My whole life of hiding this from them, if they're able to talk to me about it, then, you know.
And you would say like your relationship with your parents, it became better like after you came out?
Yeah, because like, you know, with my parents, when we were kids, they were never home. They always worked. So I was raised by my grandmothers, my
Canadian
uncles.
life.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't know my parents very well, right? I knew my grandmother more than I knew my mom. I knew my uncles more than I knew my dad. So I guess just as a result of them having to work here to, you know, provide for us, I didn't get to know them that well at that time. So this coming out to them, telling them I was gay, was sort of the biggest thing I've ever said to them, right?
And your dad also, you told him the same day? Like he got to know?
So my mom told him that night.
Okay.
And the next day he went to work and I got a text message from my dad. The first text message he's ever sent me. I didn't even know he knew how to text,
And this
right?
is like how many years back?
Oh God, I think in like 2004.
Oh, they
So-
didn't have like iPhones back then.
Not iPhones. It was like the, you know, the buttons. You have to actually type. You have to push the 7 like 3 times to get the T. And he said, "I'm sorry." They call me Jagu. They said, "I'm sorry, Jagu. I love you." Something like that.
Okay.
And just so powerful, right? Like that moment, I'll never forget that.
So one thing you said like while you were telling this story, right? That about your brother that you should have known from the beginning, you know, the way he was different, and then he wanted like nail polish or like whatever. So because I know that people in India are watching this too,
Yeah.
and I know for a fact that that's what people say, that you know, gay people, they're not born like that. So the way they're brought up, you know, in a household,
Yeah.
that might have an effect, you know, like how they become later on.
Yeah.
So if a guy, like if a boy dresses up as a girl, and if he does, you know, like more girly stuff, he might become gay.
I think there's a lack of education, right? That's why I want to talk to you. That's why I talk to people about this, because I want to educate people. There was never a point in my life when I decided to be gay. And I always think like the amount of abuse gay people get beaten up, people get disowned by their families. Why would anybody put themselves in that position? Why would I want to live in fear for decades, right? No one would do this to themselves, right? To be like, oh, I'm gonna be different today, right? All we're trying to do is just live a normal life. Like I have a wife now, I have 2 kids, and you know, our days are very normal and very boring, right? Like every morning, okay, what are we gonna eat for breakfast? What are we gonna make for lunch? What's for dinner? It's the same as if you were raising your kids. We go to the park, we go, you know, I change my son's diaper 7 times a day. Like, what's the difference? There's no difference, right? I'm just, the only difference is I'm attracted to women rather than men. And that's all I want to, you know, try to convey to people, even to the older generation, that there's nothing wrong with us. There's nothing that needs to be fixed or anything like that. There's no disease or sickness, right?
So how you were saying, you know, like how you have a wife and a kids now. So that's, I think, because most of the Indian parents, that's what they're worried of.
Yeah.
You know, they want you to get married, and I don't know, they have this thing, you know, like get married and you'll be settled. I don't know how, but anyways, but that's like irrelevant. So what I'm saying is, for most of the parents, that's the worry. You know, like they want you to get married, they want you to have like wife, husband, they want you to have kids, and that's exactly what you're having. You have a family now.
It's all I can say is like we're just normal people,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We're just living a normal life. Our kids are so loved, and I want to make sure that, you know, the life we're building for them, they don't feel ashamed of us. They don't feel ashamed that they have 2 moms. And I can see that, like they have confidence. Like my 3-year-old has so much confidence, and we talk about it. Like on TV shows, she sees a cartoon character has a mom and a dad, right? And we talk to her about it. Some people have grandparents that are raising them. Some people have only 1 dad or only 1 mom. And I always say, you get to have 2 moms. And she's like, yeah, like that's cool to her, right? So I think as long as we're raising her with love, or both of them with love, I don't think she's gonna feel anything.
And do you feel the media these days, like TV shows, movies, I'm especially like talking about the West,
Yeah.
because in India there's nothing.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there are like, you know, few examples of some filmmakers that do openly talk about homosexuality, but not much.
Yeah.
And even if they talk about, they just talk about very in a way which is like very it's just it's not natural.
Yeah.
You know, they make it like a big deal, and then that's how they show it. But what I'm asking is, do you think the media in the West and the movies and all these, they have enough representation like of homosexuality? Like if like how you said cartoon character, right? Do you know like any cartoons if they have, you know, if they portray like 2 mothers or 2 dads?
I don't know about TV shows, but we have some books, for example, called, you know, it has 2 moms in it. Or like I've talked to teachers lately who, school is so different now than when I went to school. Like no one ever talked to us about it. No, maybe one time someone said something, but we don't connect. We're not educated enough at that time. But now, like even kindergarten kids are read books. You know, like children's books, and it's just you're introducing the kids to this from an early age so that it's not a big shock to them. It shouldn't be a shock regardless, but they're just grown up knowing these things, which I think is amazing now that it's
Yeah.
part of the schooling curriculum.
Because if you as a kid, because kids are usually like very curious, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
want to know.
Yeah,
So if growing up as a kid, if you come across such an example which is not normal to you,
yeah,
then you would question that.
yeah,
And then when you question that, then you get like some answers, right?
Yeah.
Then it starts, because if you have no knowledge about it, then it's just you have the wrong knowledge.
yeah,
Because people have like all different kind of knowledge, right? And then they're just getting out of internet.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah, so if they have, so now you're saying like it's better, but it should be more. Like
I
it
think
can be
I
more?
think more is always good, right? Because I think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, especially in like South Asian communities.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
that's
like
what
our
I-
parents. My parents are great. They talk to their relatives about it. Like my mom has older cousins who are in their 80s. When they call my mom, they ask about my wife.
Okay.
Ask how the kids are doing, and it's, to me, that's amazing that it's just naturally they care about us, right? And I think one of the most important things is like, if my parents tell somebody that I'm gay and they're supportive about it, that other person can't. What are they going to say to my parents? If my parents are already loving and accepting,
Yeah.
right? But if my parents had gone to them saying, oh my God, something's wrong with my daughter, fix her, she's screwing up her life, then that person's gonna feed off of what my parents are saying.
And I
Then it
think-
becomes a big story, and like,
And for you also, like you would want your parents to accept you.
yeah,
You know, you don't want like outside people,
Yeah.
like what they think about you.
Exactly.
So you're not worried about that. If your parents, they accept you like the way you
Yeah.
are, then
nobody
everything
else
is okay.
matters
Nobody
at
else
that point,
matters.
right? And that's the biggest thing, like, especially after having my daughter when she was born, and my parents started telling people, from then on, I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. Now I always worried for a long time, what if I go to a store with my kids? This is before I even have kids.
Okay.
Years ago, 10 years ago, I was thinking about this. What if I have kids and I'm in a store and a relative sees me? Do I have to tell my daughter or my son, don't call me mom? Or what if I go to India with my kids and my partner? Do I have to teach my kids, don't call us both mommy? Right? And that's so messed up to think like that. But those are the fears I had. And now it's just, like, my mama and mummy came from India. My mom's brother and his wife came from India when my daughter was born. And spent a month living at my parents' house. We were there all the time. Like, they got to know our baby, and that's just I never imagined that life before. It's amazing.
And how was like your personal experience after you came out? Like, were you relieved? Were you like you were more confident about who you were, and then you could just go and do whatever you want to do? Because right now, like when you, because for me, like it's hard to imagine,
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
like as a straight person, like it's hard for me to imagine. But I still want to, because see, like if somebody is not living their life like how they are, like once they know, like what they like and what they are as a person, and if they're not fully, once they're sure about it and they're not going for it, then they're not living it completely.
Yeah.
And that is a big, I mean, like if you're not living true to yourself, it's not satisfying.
No.
So yeah, like once you came out, like how was everything?
I think it's been a journey, because this is the thing. You don't come out one time. First, you come out to yourself. Then you might come out to your friend. Then you come out to your parents. When I met you, I came out to you, right? Every time, if I'm coming out to a coworker, I'm coming out. I think it's going to be a lifelong process. You don't stop coming out.
So people just assume, like if you're a girl, then you'll have a husband.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think the thing is, with over time, the more confidence you get, the less uncomfortable it is to come out. Because for the first 10 years, If I had to come out to someone, I would get very anxious, because you don't know how the person's going to react. Especially if it's somebody that you have, some sort of a friendship with. Oh, I don't want them to stop being my friend. I don't want somebody to beat me up. I don't want somebody to say bad stuff about me. And the more times you come out, the more life experience you have, you just kind of don't care as much anymore.
But yeah, that's when, like when we were talking before just 5 minutes ago, like once if your parents were okay,
Yeah.
like with it,
Yeah,
you being gay,
yeah,
then rest of the people doesn't matter.
exactly.
Even
Yeah,
if it is like closer friends, and then if they're like that, then
Yeah.
like this is not the right person.
Exactly.
Even as a nobody should talk to such a person.
Yeah.
Like if they, because they already presumed you in a way which they have no right, I think.
Yeah.
Because anyone can be anyone.
yeah, exactly.
But like how? Because see, this is a very, I mean, like a positive story, I would say. But I'm sure like there are many, like especially in our community, like Indian community, right, like Punjabi community.
Yeah.
It's a huge deal. Like if somebody, if their son or their daughter, because they're very proud people too, right? Like
Yeah.
especially with the son.
Yeah.
And it's still very prevalent. When there is a son born, it is looked at in a different way
Yeah.
when a girl is born, right?
Yeah.
So Indian parents, like in general, they look upon their kids the moment they're born, and they have this image. Okay, they will grow up in a way. They'll have family, will have grandkids. So it's already presumed. And if your parents, because what I'm trying to say is there will be a lot of Indian parents who will never be okay with this,
Yeah.
who will think that there is something wrong
Yeah.
with their kids, and they'll take them to doctor, they'll talk to like all these, and a kid is a kid, like 14, 15-year-old, he or she, they're already fighting with themselves,
Yeah.
like who are they as a human,
Yeah.
and then on top of that their parents are taking them all these places, so it must be like really hard.
It's so damaging. I think a lot of people commit suicide because of that, right? As
So
a
what would, sorry
Yeah.
to cut you off, but like what would you tell such parents, like not just parents but any human, like who have these like presumptions of a person, like what would you tell like such parents?
Yeah, I just think like if you've raised your children loving them all this time, and then they tell you they're gay, and then all of a sudden you're gonna stop loving them,
Nothing changes.
how does that make sense, right? Like when I came out to my parents, I'm no different than I was 5 minutes ago. If they loved me 5 minutes ago, why wouldn't they love me going forward, right? Like with my children, I love them so much. They're so little, and to have a lifetime of raising them, I can't imagine how much more that love is gonna grow. I think I have a hard time understanding, like, how can you stop loving your kids if they're gay? It makes no sense to me, right? All they're doing when they come out is being more truthful with the parents. And I think if more people understood sort of the struggle that people go through when they're closeted, when they're struggling internally, I think there would be more compassion if they knew what their children were sort of fighting with internally.
And people who are internally like fighting among themselves, like when they're not sure, like as you said, like the very first time you come out is to yourself.
Yeah, but what I mean by that is that's the first time you have to accept it within yourself before you can tell somebody else. You have to understand it, right? Because you're struggling. Like for me, okay, I feel different. Why am I attracted to these girls but not those boys? When all my life, it's like, oh, you have to marry a man one day, right? Like, and it's just a process of understanding what that even means. So that's when you come out to yourself. And then you probably go through for years trying to figure out how are you going to survive.
But is it like an instant moment that you know that you're gay, or does it take like a duration of time?
I think it's different for everybody. Like some kids know from a young age, and that's because they're educated. They have the vocabulary. if looking back, if I knew what it meant to be gay, if I knew what that word even existed,
Yeah.
I probably could have connected the dots much sooner. I would have been like, okay, that explains who I am, right? For some people, they might be in their 70s by the time they come out. For them, it's taken, their whole life to come out and to accept it. So I think everyone's on a different journey. It's not the same journey for everybody, I guess.
But what's like? Would you want something to make it like better for people in our society? How we are born and brought up? Because see, like what I feel is my parents, like specifically talking about my family.
Yeah.
If in our family, like somebody needs to come out as gay or like homosexual or any different person, because the word the reason why I'm saying different is normal is not normal anymore, but while growing up, normal is just a boy attracted to girl, a girl attracted to boy, and then a boy has a wife, a girl has a husband, they have kids, and then but nowadays, like as you have a wife, being a woman yourself, and you have kids, so your kids will have two moms.
Yeah.
So that is, for a lot of people, that is not normal, right?
Right.
And then your parents accepted it. A lot of people, they wouldn't accept it.
No.
And they would think it's and they would not want to accept it.
No.
So, like how to change that? Because if these things, see, like you can.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to change overnight, because if you look at India, there's over 1 billion people. That's 1 billion people you have to educate, right? And I feel like with a lot of, people that are very conservative or very religious, they're kind of stuck in this one way of being. Mm-hmm. They're not open to understanding two women can be in love, right? It's sort of the end of the world for them. Like a lot of people, if they saw my parents accepting us, they would think my parents are crazy too, right? I just think it's through talking about it, through showing people this is normal too, it's I don't know. I feel like I live a very normal life.
And being an immigrant, does that change anything too? Like being gay and then being immigrant too, like being kids to the immigrant.
Okay, so that's also very difficult, because for myself, it hasn't been until the last few years that I've really connected with my Indian culture, my Indian identity, right? Okay. So there's been that struggle. Oh, my name is I have a Punjabi name. That's too weird for white people to understand how to pronounce, right? My name is Jagandeep, but I always go by Jag. So it's easier for white people to pronounce it.
But why do you think, like why, and it's very common here, like people use like shorter names.
Yeah.
Why do they do that? Like just for people to pronounce their name the right way?
You don't want to seem different, right? Like
you are different, like you're different the way.
Yeah, but outwardly, sure. I grew up in Maple Ridge, which is 40 minutes from Vancouver. I graduated with 400 people in my class in grade 12. 4 of us were Indian. And I wasn't really friends with anybody else, so I didn't have that connection. So, maybe I look different than people. I have black hair, brown skin, but when you're among your peers, you just want to blend in. You don't want to be different.
Okay.
And it's a struggle because our parents gave us, like Jagandeep, that's such a long name. I was embarrassed about it for a long time.
Okay.
And why couldn't I be named Jessie or something easier to pronounce, right? So there's that struggle you have, kind of being okay being different. But then, okay, now I'm not only a woman, which already can be a disadvantage in the world. I'm an Indian woman, and I'm a gay Indian woman. Those are 3 things working against you, or you tell yourself they're working against you, right? So it's, I think just for me, it's been a journey of finding out who I am and being okay with who I am and being proud of it. Like all 3 of those, being a woman, being brown, and being gay, I'm so proud of that now.
Yeah.
And I think my kids have a big role to play in how I got there, because I want to teach them confidence. And if I'm not confident, what are they going to learn from me, right? You teach them by example. So, yeah, that's...
I mean, what were we talking about right now? Like, I was thinking of something else. You were saying, like, about the... What were you talking about? You also... Oh my God.
What was I saying?
Wow, this is crazy. Yeah.
I got distracted.
Because I had like such a good thing that I wanted to ask, and then now I forgot that too.
Okay.
And what we were just like talking about that. Oh my God.
What was I saying? I was growing up, like my identities, being brown, being Indian, being a woman. Those are.
Yeah. What I wanted to ask was like this thing. Like right now, we're sitting in Canada. Right, and then my purpose, like I am born and brought up in India.
Yeah.
And I am like, I myself, I can say that, there is this, there used to be like one kid like in our class, like a guy.
Yeah.
And he used to like walk in a different way, kind of. And we used to make like fun of him, and including me.
Yeah.
I'm saying, because while I was in India, I had no idea, like what homosexual is.
Yeah.
Never heard of that name. Cannot even imagine a guy being with a guy.
Yeah.
It's just that when that's like a positive, and we'll talk about like those things too, like in Canada, what are the positive, what are the negatives. But I think this is the biggest positive, that a person is more free to express themselves. You might not even just come out your whole life. Exactly. And
yeah, I think we're lucky here in many ways, because people will fight for our rights. With in a lot of countries it's still illegal to be gay.
It's good actually, like India, it's legal now.
Yeah.
Like just recently. Yeah.
It's legal, but is it accepted? Through society?
Yeah, society, no.
No, right? So there's lots of work to still do.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's the main part, I think, is the society, like you cannot just like fight everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think, when I see photos or images from pride parades in Bombay or wherever, right? Like Delhi, seeing the young people out there on the streets with rainbow flags, celebrating, I think that's really powerful. And I think, I don't know, like
these are like big cities.
Big cities, not in the small. Imagine in a little village.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right. My parents told me in my mom's village, there was a woman. She's probably, I don't know, in her 70s now. And thinking back about it, like my mom and my aunt say, oh, maybe she was gay, because she got married to a man, and she went to the man's home. Like they got married, they went there, and she said, I don't want you to touch me. You can treat me like a brother, or treat me like a sister. I'm not, don't think of me as a wife. Yeah. And then the husband was like, okay, this is no way to live. So then he brought her back to her village, and then she never got remarried. And they think about it now, like, why did she say those things? But, and nobody knows, is she gay, is she not? I have no idea. I don't think anyone will ever know. But let's say she was. There was no environment for her to have come out or to even talk about it to anybody, right? She'll probably live the rest of her life never having said it out loud to anybody. So, yeah, big cities, sure. People are, celebrating pride in India, but big cities are so few comparatively.
Yeah. And I think the biggest, like, what's going on in my head is the feeling like when you cannot just come out, but like when like who you are, but like society, they won't accept you, and then you're just living like in what is it called, like in a closet. So that is something that worries me. That is like, it's just I don't understand that, because for me, see, like for me, like like when I started this business, like Chai Wagon, this is considered to be like a small work in India.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there are so many people who are selling food on the streets.
Yeah.
But it's considered like very small. Like our society is
Yeah.
such, and what I feel like why our parents, they want us to have like a safe future, and according to them, safe future means getting married, having a good job, secure. Basically, like safety. That's what they look for. And what I'm trying to figure out is, because see, like nowadays it's very easy to survive. It's not about survival. Maybe their generation, it was about survival. So when I was starting this up too, nobody was supporting me too, right? Because but the thing is, I was sure like what I want to do.
Yeah.
And when you are sure like who you are, and then you know like what you will like to do for rest of your life, and if you're not able to do that, then like you're basically living in a closet too.
Yeah.
So in my case, I was living in a closet too, like when I was doing something else,
Right.
which I wasn't interested in.
You're not living authentically, right? There's so much more you could do if you could just be who you are, right? Just show people who you are.
And I think that you can only do when you just like come out who you are. Okay, this is who I am as a person. If you want to accept me, accept me. If you don't, that's okay. But I'll just go like this.
Yeah, but it's not always the case. I know people like who have come out to their families who have been completely disowned. They don't speak to them anymore.
Like their parents too?
Everybody in their family. So I feel very lucky that I have a family who is very accepting.
Yeah.
My extended family is very accepting. That's
Because
that's not the
damaging.
case.
That is very damaging too. That is not the case for like a lot of people, right?
Most people, it's not, right?
Especially like Indian community.
Exactly,
right? Like,
exactly. Yeah, like I think it's rare for people to openly accept their kids who are gay.
And we are specifically like talking about Indian community, like people from India. But I mean, other countries, other communities, they must be having like similar troubles too.
Definitely,
right?
definitely, yeah. I think probably the majority of the world is having these same conversations and same struggles.
You were telling me before like we started recording about your wife.
Yeah.
Like when you went to, you want to share that story? Like when
Sure. Yeah. So her family is in Edmonton, and
where are they from?
they're from Poland.
Okay.
So they came to Edmonton early 90s, I guess. So my wife and I did a road trip to Edmonton to go, visit her family for the first time. This was probably like 9 years ago. And her mom is very religious. And, like we showed up, drove 15 hours, get to their door. And her mom, I don't think her mom came to the door even to say hello to us. She was just standing in the kitchen. And I went over to introduce myself. And she was sort of standing in the middle of the kitchen. And as I came closer to her to say hello, I probably extended my hand or something. And she took a step back. Visibly, she took a step back. And that sort of broke my heart. Like, oh, she doesn't want to touch me or something, right? I could see she didn't accept this at the time. And, like, all I can do, and maybe this is my way of advocating for gay rights, all I try to do is be as nice as I can to people, show as much kindness as I can to people, and respect people, so that they don't dislike me for being gay. I don't want that to be the reason they don't like me. They could not like me for my personality or anything else. I don't want gayness to be the thing that they don't like about me.
But I have a different opinion about this.
Okay.
So when you're saying that you're putting like extra effort,
Yeah.
just because you're gay,
Yeah.
that's what you're trying
Yeah.
to say, right?
Yeah.
So for me, that's like it doesn't make any sense too, because if that means like there is a problem, like if you're gay, you have to put like extra effort.
Because people think there's a problem with being gay. Society
But
tells
that's
us.
the problem with people, right? Like because
It is.
if you also do the same thing what people are doing, because in my opinion, you're doing the same thing what people actually want you to do. So you're gay, it's your problem, and you have to be extra nice about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I guess I think of it like I don't need to go fight with people to tell them you have to.
Yeah.
So my way of protesting is by just being kind to people.
That's, I mean,
you know what
yeah.
you know?
But I mean, that's for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, gay or not
Yeah.
gay, you just be kind to people. But I mean, if you're behaving in a different way, you're being kind. That's yeah.
I guess I would say it's a defense mechanism for me. It has always been a defense mechanism, right?
Yeah.
I don't want. I think it's been out of the fear of being rejected by people who I'm close to.
Yeah.
That makes me try extra hard to not be abandoned for being gay, I think. And the reason I was saying that is so that trip with my in-laws, so the first meeting she kind of backed up, and by the end of the week, like I feel like I won them over with, you know, through just showing that, you know, I'm not a monster or whatever. And now, like, we've been together for 9 years. My wife's parents have come visited my parents. Like, they all know each other. We FaceTime multiple times a week. They ask about me. Like, if, you know, my wife's on the phone with them, they'll ask where am I and stuff. And it feels like family. Like, I've gone to Poland several times now, and all her cousins and her aunties. I love going to Poland because I'm so accepted by them, and it feels like an extension of my own family. So,
you want to go to India, like, with your wife and kids?
I would love to. Yeah. I mean, not right now because COVID is really scary, but yeah, like imagining, like my uncle has like cows and all this stuff. Like imagining my kids seeing the cows.
Exactly.
I just think they would have the time of their life there.
Even your wife, like she
Oh, I
have,
can't
like,
wait. Yeah.
Another thing that I want to talk about is completely different topic, but but it's somehow, I think, connected to us, like, you know, being from a different community, like what most of the people are, like in Canada. So I want to talk about, and again, like, I'm very little educated about this topic, but recently it has been in news. Indigenous people.
Yeah.
So there have been news that there have been like engraved, you know, like the dead bodies have been found.
Yeah.
Number of occasions in Saskatchewan, and it was in Kamloops.
Yeah.
So what do you think? You know, like what do you think about that?
Honestly, like, I don't even know what to think. Like,
and if you can maybe tell our viewers, if you have knowledge about this topic, right? Like what? So indigenous people, they're basically native people to this land, to Canada.
Yeah.
So they were here before it was discovered by Europeans.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And then the Europeans sort of came here, the settlers came here, and, you know, with all these residential schools, they forced these kids to come to these schools. I don't even know if is it a school, if it's like that, right? But, you know,
so
they were
residential schools. They were made by
Catholic priests.
Catholic priests.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, you know, the indigenous kids had their hair cut off. They were forced to change their names, forced to speak English. I just
basically forced to forget their culture and then become like part of their culture.
Exactly. And that's just unimaginable, right? And like for us in high school and elementary school, nobody ever taught us this. And it seems like, am I stupid for not knowing this? Like, it just feels like the last 5 years we're sort of like waking up to this realization that has been here for so long. We just, I don't know, we just didn't care to understand or...
And the reason why I said, like, you know, this topic is somehow connected to like all of us, you know, like with me, with you, with like how I started this business, is because if you forget your culture, or nobody's saying you don't accept like Canadian culture, or, you know, like you don't accept like who you are, but of course, like, you have, as an individual, you have an identity, and that identity will be for rest of your life, like where you're born and you know, like raised in a family kind of, right? So for native people, they have their own culture. For us, we have our own culture. For white people, for all different communities, they have their own culture. And what you mentioned, you know, like when you were growing up, when you were in Pitt Meadows, you said like you were in...
I grew up in Maple Ridge.
Maple Ridge, right?
Yeah.
So most of the kids, they were white, and then you wanted to be part of that. So maybe it's in your head somewhere you had, you know, like we have a problem. Because when we put ourselves on the spot that we have a problem, I think that's the problem. You know what I mean? Like if culture wise, and why I'm saying like it is connected to me also, like I started this because the only reason why I started this, I wanted to offer like authentic Indian chai.
Yeah.
Not like the chai tea from all the cafes.
Yeah.
Because they're just making money out of chai, and
Yeah.
which is fine. Like I'm completely okay with it. But if somebody wants to actually experience what real chai tastes like and what the culture around chai is,
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to, and it will always be like this.
Right.
Because if I have a problem with that, then there is no business, right? Then absolutely no business. If I'm doing the same thing what rest of the people are doing.
Right.
So that's where I'm saying like native people, indigenous people, they had their own culture, and then how Catholic. So you think like this is a government problem, or this is like a religious problem? Because
Both. The government let it happen. It's not like the government didn't know.
Yeah.
It's not like police forces didn't know it was happening. Everybody knew it was happening.
Yeah.
They were just okay with it.
Yeah, so what I want to ask is, these like unmarked graves like that were found in Kamloops and Saskatchewan now, and I think this is just like tip of an iceberg.
Yeah.
There will be lots
Thousands more,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think.
And I think what I have heard and what I've seen like in news, people were talking about this 15 years, 20 years, since like 30 years too, but nobody was
Nobody
listening.
listened.
Nobody listened.
Yeah.
But now people are getting to know about this, and this is just huge.
Yeah.
Something like this, especially like kids,
Yeah.
you don't know like what if they were given the opportunity to grow, and then what they could have done.
And I want to ask you, imagine if these were white kids that were found. How the world would have reacted. If they found 700 white kids buried,
Yeah.
it would be so much different, right?
Yeah.
The whole world would be talking about this. But because they're indigenous, people, just the systems in place make, indigenous people aren't as valuable, right?
Yeah.
This was happening. Everyone just sweeps it under the rug. And I think, now that things are coming out in the open, and I think it's kind of waking us up, and we're realizing how bad it was and how we should have listened so long ago.
Do you think like there is a bigger problem with this? Not just like government being sorry about this, and then what? Because these things happened like quite a lot of years back, right? Like 50, 60, 100s.
No, the last residential school closed in 1997.
Okay.
That's not that long ago, right?
Yeah.
I just think, if you think about it, if you take religion out of all of this,
Okay.
if you think about the systems that are in place for how this country runs, do indigenous people have any benefits? Do they have, are things set up in a way that they can succeed? No, right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the solution would be. I don't know. I don't think there's one answer to just say this is the fix for this and this is how to, apologize or make things right. I think
But I feel people should talk about indigenous people like more. They're not represented at all. People have so much perceptions about them, like how they are, as they're looked upon as like aliens, like they're completely different. They're not humans,
and this is their land we're sitting on right now.
This is, and then we should
right?
be thankful of them.
Exactly.
Like we're doing all this on their land.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like if they themselves should come out too and then talk more.
I think the thing is nobody listens. Nobody has listened for so long, right? Even with all the pipeline protests and stuff, it's like, tell them to stop talking, right? I just think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. All of us have a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Okay, so Jag, I think we should end our conversation here. It was lovely to have you, and then I actually, so the only reason for having these conversations is like I'm being selfish for myself too, that I want to learn from people from different background, and I think like viewers, and that's why we'll try to have guests from different background. So in the process, I will learn, and then the viewers can learn, and as a whole society, as a community, we can learn. So It was very nice to have you, and thank you so much for coming. And
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed the chai and the conversation a lot.
This
And
is all by. This is like. It just looks very nice, you know. Like we have these ice drinks too.
yeah.
So the labels on those like transparent glasses, it looks lovely.
Yes,
So this
I'm so happy. So yeah,
This
thanks.
is inspired. This is like how you were saying, you know, like when you came closer to your culture.
Yeah.
And when you became like more confident, I think that's where the authenticity lies. That's
Exactly.
where I think you can be most productive.
Yes, exactly. Once you get to know yourself, you know, you find your voice, and yeah, I think I've been finding my voice every time I draw. Every day, I'm sort of learning who I am.
Okay. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you
for
so
having
much.
me. Okay, so that's all for today. Hopefully you like this episode. Let us know in the comments if anything you want us to talk about, and we'll try to have guests who have similar experiences. That's all for now. Thanks for joining in. See you next time.